Hello, everyone. In the last episode, I talked about the price of a lost childhood. And today, I wanted to talk about what we can learn from what others are doing about education. Particularly, I'm interested in what are the rich doing about educating their kids. How are they thinking about the careers of their children and their plans differently than all of us? And at the end of this episode, my promise to you is you will have some insight into what people with money are doing to make sure that their kids have an advantage that most people don't, right? And hopefully, from that, you can carve out your own strategies and figure out your own path through the long career that you're going to have. So, the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. This is a phrase that is used a lot in Silicon Valley. It's used a lot in technology to talk about how people with money already have access to technology, or people in the developed world already have access to technology like driverless cars, which others do not. Similarly, people who have money today already have access to educational strategies that help them succeed. And there are some of these strategies that are just as applicable to people without money. Yet we do not take them on because we lack the courage or we don't have the financial backup to pursue these strategies with confidence. So, what are these strategies? What is it that the rich do? The rich do six or seven things really well. They are now giving up on the Indian education system, right? They think it's too competitive and it is not worth the cost of competition. It is not worth losing a childhood on. And they send their kids to IB schools or to experimental schools to help them think differently about the world and to move away from a hierarchical winner takes all mindset that schools in India propagate today. They also pay for expensive counseling to help kids understand what has changed in the world since they graduated when they were kids and are able to point their kids to emerging trends to pursue emerging startups and colleges that were not that good then but are great now and still good value for money. They also, for the most part, pursue bachelor's degrees outside India. Look at the son of every rich conglomerate owner in India. Look at the Bhartiyas, for example. Look at the Bajajes. Look at any famous last name, Ambani's, and you will find that their children have gone to educational institutes outside India. They were able to get access to a great education without losing their childhood, right? And they were willing to pay the cost of these expensive schools because they had the money, right? But in most cases, even people without money can access some of these schools. They may not get access to all of the premier schools, but they will have access to many of the schools that they think are out of reach today just because they haven't spent time evaluating these options. The rich also make sure that their kids work outside India, and many of them choose to settle outside India because of various reasons, and that's a personal choice. It is a choice that many people make. But it is surprising that people who have money, who seem to have everything in India, are when they make that choice, you really wonder, what is it that they know about the systemic rot, or what is it that they know that I don't, and why are they making those choices when they seem to have everything and amazing access to help and resources and are able to exist in India with money and with much comfort, yet they choose to give it up. They also make sure that the kids get an MBA from a college outside India or they join them in business. They generally do not let their children work for other companies. For the most part, they want their kids to either join them in business or to pursue an MBA and work for a company outside India and bring in new technology or new thinking back to their conglomerate. They also spend time teaching the kids about playing the long game. They teach the kids about money. and I'll speak about that a little bit later. It's supremely important to talk about money early, and if they're really well connected, the rich in India start their own colleges or start their own universities, and they never send their kids to the same universities, right? So, what can we learn from this, right? Why does this playbook exist? It exists because the rich want their kids to have access, right? They want to be where great new things can begin. And these things normally happen either in world class universities, or prestigious business colleges when people are coming up with new ideas where they are trying to make a difference and build something entirely new. That's why they want to be where the action is. They also want to build relationships with people who are ambitious, who are successful, because it has been said that you will be the average of the five people you associate with the most. So they are trying to associate with, or they're trying to get the kids to associate with ambitious, smart kids who want to do more, so that their kids have positive role models and are able to learn from their peer group and hopefully become a part of a successful peer group. And this is more of a negative. They just don't trust the education system in India to be any good. And the good colleges they see are just not worth the effort that is needed to be put in to get into them. So they try to get the best colleges outside India, which require little effort. And I've covered that in my episode on not enough good engineering colleges in India. So they go to colleges outside India that are much better and much easier to get into. Finally, what can we learn from this, right? So, irrespective, the rich invest in education. They continue to believe that education is a clear path to success, and that private education and contracts and networks that are built in these private colleges are great. They're great for long term growth, they're great for having a great peer group to associate with. And the rich make it a priority to teach their kids to play the long game. They don't talk about getting a good job right out of college as being the only goal of college. They also talk about relationships and learning and pursuing your own crazy obsession, right? Because that's what leads to specific knowledge. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. I love what Naval Ravikant has said about specific knowledge. I think there's a lot of value to what he's been sharing. And the two other things that we can learn from all of this is that learning about money is also very important. So the rich teach their kids about money. They get them to work with money early on. They teach them about investing. They teach them about wealth. They teach them about managing money, which most people don't. While most of our kids are learning about math and solving integral and differential calculus, these kids spend time on other things also. And finally, long term thinking is a clear differentiating characteristic of the rich, right? They know that an education is just an education, right? And over time, they will have to build specific skills. They'll have to get into a company or a job or build an enterprise where they will have to learn things that only they know. And it's that specific knowledge that is going to unlock wealth for them. So there are five different things that you can do at the end of this episode. You can read about what the lessons the rich teach that the poor don't. Listen to Naval Ravikant's podcast. Has an amazing podcast, and it's very easy to listen to because it's really short, a bunch of short episodes. And then there are a couple of articles that I think you can read to understand how the rich think about education, and then draw your own conclusions about what that means for your education and your career moving forward. Thank you so much. Hope this was useful.